Okay, so now I have the floor. What to talk about? It's a struggle. It's a struggle to figure out what to condense. There's so much that happens in our industry over a year's time. It's a challenge and it's a struggle at times to come up with things to say that are going to somehow move you, impact you, keep you interested. But hopefully I did a pretty good job putting some thoughts together because there's so many great things that we can talk about. One of the things I did as I was preparing my remarks is, you reflect on this annual event. So to me, it's honestly, I can legit say it's my favorite time of the year because it happens every year, kind of like holidays. We get together and we come here every year. And I was thinking about how many of these I've been to. And I know for a fact that if you add together my time working at the league and my time as a vendor out there in the expo hall, this is my 24th annual convention. So I know, shocking to believe of when you see me, to see that I've been here for doing this for that long, but I have. And one of the fun stories I was thinking about when I was a vendor sitting at our booth, and as I was trying to remember, when was my actual first AC&E? But I remember my second one, and we were at our booth, and I was actually sitting at the booth, which you don't see people doing because they're standing and mingling. You'll know why I was sitting in a minute. But I was sitting at our booth, and as part of the freebies that our law firm was giving away, we had this big wheel. And on each tile was like a name of somebody that worked at the law firm. Some of you probably remember this wheel because you would spin it, and it would make this annoying clicking noise and everything else. And you could land on a name, and you'd introduce yourself, and then the person would get a little prize. So I was sitting at the booth front and center, and this guy comes up, probably in his mid-40s, and he spins the wheel, and he lands on my name. And he's like, Patty Corkery. He's like, I win Patty Corkery. And I'm sitting there, and I stand up, and I'm 7 months pregnant. And he's like, oh, no, let me spin again. I don't want that. And my daughter turns 22 this year, so I know it's been at least that long. So anyway, I thought I'd share that story with you. So lots of fun. But a big part of this event for us, of course, is our team. And this is just some of our team. I captured this photo this past fall. And I know Heather gave a shout out to our education team, but I can't stress enough, now that I work inside the association and I see the undertaking that this event and a lot of the events throughout the year I have to give a very specific shout out to Renee, Janet, Monica, Megan, Stephanie, and Jennifer Ganem for all of their hard work, especially Janet. She holds the torch and we all follow behind her. She's a rock star. Let's give them a round of applause. And I tell her she's my security blanket, so I make her sit right by me the whole morning. Okay, so what have you been up to? Enough about us, right? What have you been up to? Well, it's been another busy year for you all. Just some of the snapshots of what we're hearing on a weekly basis in the media. It's been busy. And not all of it good, right? Some definite heavy stuff that you're all navigating. The rhetoric on junk fees, us somehow getting lumped into that narrative. The bank failures that happened. The regulatory burden that, of course, exists here and there. Threats to interchange, more on that in a minute. Employee retention and hiring is still an issue for some of you. Inflation, right? The slow rise of the delinquency that you're seeing, the credit card balances that aren't quite getting paid off each month like they were for a while, rising rates, not to mention the liquidity issues. Okay, maybe we should have had a mimosa bar in here because that's a lot of heavy stuff. But as I was reflecting on all that you're going through, and I think about how do we as an association plug into all of these issues? Because we're here for you, right? You're our members. You affiliate with us, thank you. And how do we help you navigate? Because that's our job. So we're here to support you. And I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, we're doing something right because we have every credit union in Michigan belong to our association, which is awesome. So we have 100% affiliation again this year, which we love to brag about. And that means something. It means that you're valuing what we do. And that means the world to us, of course. But it makes me reflect on why. Why do they affiliate every year? What are we doing right? And I was like getting lost in a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I was looking for some inspiration. And I came across a video, I'm sure you've either seen it or read it or listened to, Simon Sinek, Starting with Why, right? When you look at what makes a successful company, what makes a successful business stand out from the rest, people can figure out how to do the how, they can figure out how to do the what, but until you figure out your why, right, you're not gonna be as successful as you could be. And not only figuring out internally what your why is, but having people join you that also have that why, that embrace your why. And so when I think about us as the association, as we're right there with you, navigating the waves of all of the garbage that sometimes we have to deal with, I think about it, I'm like, we understand their why, and they get our why. We wake up as your association and live that why every day. I can say that firsthand. We are there to support you so you can support your communities and your members. It's a very simple why, but you guys embrace our why and we embrace your why. And I'm confident, and because it's such an awesome why, I'm confident that that's why we're all successful together. So we navigate through all of this with you along the way, and we come up with strategies on how to deal with some of these hard topics together. But as Heather talked about in Michigan, we're definitely doing right when you look at the numbers, for sure. 60% of our Michiganders are members of credit unions, which is phenomenal. But also look at the direct financial benefits to your members. What you're doing, you're living the mission, right? As not-for-profit financial institutions, the money that you take in, you give back to your members in the lower rates, right? The higher deposit rates, the lower fees. And look at the benefit to the community. $486 million in a 12-month period in Michigan was given back to the members through those efforts. So huge round of applause for all of you for that. That's phenomenal. Collectively, our Michigan credit unions monitor $98 billion in assets, which is huge. It's amazing, the undertaking that you all have. So I'm excited about it. More on those numbers in a minute. But now let's talk about it. Let's see how we measure up when we compare credit unions to banks. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I hope these numbers always look good. Are we living the mission? Are our rates actually lower when we look at banks? So here you can see banks on unsecured credit cards and used auto. And here you see credit unions, right? And especially in economies like we're dealing with now, these differences matter. And then you look at mortgage closing costs. There we are for credit unions, for the difference in mortgage closing, and there we are for the banks. So huge hats off to you for giving us this data that we can brag about and remind lawmakers that you're living the mission. So let's talk a little bit what's happening around the state. So big year for us in Michigan. For the first time since 1984, we have a full Democratic majority. So as you know, at the core of what we do for your state association is state level advocacy. We have an amazing team led by Karen Marion that navigates through these waters. And there's some definite things that you have to go through when you have a full blue House. But there you can see our governor, of course, the House Speaker, Joe Tate. Some of you met him at our state GAC, Senate Majority Winnie Brinks, and then the leaders on the Republican side, Eric Nesbitt and Matt Hall. These are familiar faces to a lot of you because we bring them to your events, you invite them to your events, the legislative breakfasts and things like that. But this state level advocacy is key. It's super important for us, especially when you have one side in control. So there's a lot of ways that having a full Democrat majority helps us in Michigan. A lot of our philosophies do align, which is great. We talked a bit about financial literacy. That's something that our Democratic lawmakers want to hear from us and from you about what you're doing in that space. Banking in the underserved areas is top of mind. We testified in front of the Financial Services Committee just a couple weeks ago, and it was slide after slide. We presented all of the amazing things that you're doing in your communities, which blew them away, let me just say. Making sure that we have fair product offerings. They want to know what your products are. Are you tapping into the underserved market? We need you to be along there with us, right, as we share that information, but that's top of mind for them, which is good because it's all top of mind for you. Consumer assistance and support. You know, when we navigated some of the elder abuse legislation that was happening here in Michigan, it was easy because we were able to say, look at what credit unions already do to protect their elderly members, and bringing you in to talk to them about the policies and the procedures you have when you suspect elder abuse at your credit union. So a lot of these things align. In some of the areas, we don't necessarily align, but what that means is, in our position, occasionally, the consumer protection goes a bit too far. And what's wrong with protecting consumers, right? Sounds great, everybody should do it. Absolutely. But when legislation or regulation makes it hard for you to serve your members, there's a problem. If we can't offer the products and services that are needed to support these communities, we need to do something about it, and we need to talk about it. So that's sometimes where it gets a little murky, but that's okay, because we've got that, right? As long as we're having the conversations and getting in front of our lawmakers, will be great. That's why communicating with them is key. Talking to them at your events, coming to the state GAC like a lot of you did, hiking the Hill with us. We go twice a year to DC, as you know. Talking to our regulators and our friends in the credit union space is super imperative. So we're aligning in that way, right? Education, educating them on who credit unions are. When you have a bunch of new people in office, they don't really understand who credit unions are. It's up to us, right, to navigate that and to make sure that they know who we are. So thank you for all that you do in your communities when you have those legislative breakfasts at your chapters, when you're coming with us to these hikes and to these advocacy events. It really helps us move the needle. The PAC numbers that Heather reported on is critically important, so thank you so much for your support in that space. So let's just talk briefly about the state priorities. A lot happening in our space, as there always is, right? The first thing we always talk about, it's always our top priority, is making sure folks understand the credit union difference. And then we have our CDFI credit unions. We have 29 CDFI credit unions in Michigan, which is amazing. Congratulations to all of you. Then we have the payday lenders, right, that continue to creep out of the woodwork and want to make sure, try and get a small dollar payday lending bill passed here in Michigan. That's always top of mind for us. And again, we need your help with that, because you tell them all of the things that you do to already help these folks that are living paycheck to paycheck. Electronic lien titling, that's top of mind because it's kicking in October, so we've been helping you navigate that. Heather touched on the personal finance course. So our job doesn't really end. Just because that law was signed, our team is still very much engaged in this, because we want to make sure it's actually implemented, right? It doesn't just get kind of put off to the side. So we're still very much involved in that topic. And then we have issues that are forward-looking as we think about electronic vehicles, charging infrastructure, finance for motor vehicle subscription services. These are all things that are coming up, these autonomous packages in the vehicle market, gap waivers in insurance. These are things that are being looked at and that we're on top of for you. So thanks again for all of the support in the advocacy space that you provide. We appreciate it. So some of the things, additional things that we're watching, one of them is interchange. I'm sure a lot of you read that Durbin's bill dropped yesterday. Of course it did, the week of our convention, on interchange. But, you know, and it's funny, I was sitting here and I was thinking about it yesterday as I was changing some of my remarks on interchange. And I actually was sitting up here with my friend, NCUA board member Rodney Hood, and which it is weird to be talking while he's sitting there watching me, because it's always vice versa. But you know, I was saying, oh gosh, I was kind of complaining to him, right? I was saying, of course the interchange bill dropped today. And he's like, this is why we're here. He goes, this is why we're here. He's like, it's fun to have fun and do the parties and get together and have all the social time, but this is what we're here for, is to deal with these tough issues. So he changed my narrative like, hey, this is really good timing because we're here to talk about it. And so I appreciate that lift as I was complaining. But he's right, he's right. Interchange bill didn't drop and now we're like, oh my gosh, we have to start talking about interchange. We better call up our whole congressional delegation and make sure they know our position on interchange. Is that what we had to do yesterday? Nope, because we've been talking about it for years. We were just in DC talking about it. As you might remember, for those of you that were with us, it was one of the top bullets of our talking points to explain to them how a reduction in interchange will harm our credit unions and our members and our ability to provide these cards. right? So this isn't something that's new. Do you think it was CUNA's first response? Oh no, they've been firing off missives on this for a long time. So we're in good shape. It's certainly something that we don't want to see happen, this Credit Card Competition Act. We've been expecting it. It's not a surprise. It's unfortunate, but we'll navigate through. The good news is we're ready for it, right? We've already had the conversations. It's not likely to get any traction, but we're ready for it and we're talking about it. So we know that our consumers, our members, need easy to use credit. And we knew that trouble was going to be a riff with the retailers in DC this week. And sure enough, the bill dropped, but that's okay. We got it covered. We're also talking at the federal level for our federal credit unions on the Federal Credit Union Act. Still beating the drum to try and get some progress with the federal charter. We have such an awesome state charter here in Michigan, so we're taking steps to make sure that that federal charter is modernized, and we're continuing to talk about that. Our team has done a tremendous job. My hat's off to our advocacy team, really digging in at the state and federal level on appropriations, getting dollars in. We know we had a ton of success last year with CDFI dollars, getting $75 million into Michigan CDFIs, which was huge. We are the envy of the nation with that number. But we're not stopping there, right? We're continuing to knock on that door and ask for even more money. But as the increase in the CDFI budget happens, our team is all over that to make sure that money gets allocated here. And then we have the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. $27 billion is earmarked for greenhouse gas reduction. How can we get those dollars here in Michigan so that you can fund some of these programs for your members? Top of mind today as we're sitting here with this crazy climate and the craziness that we're seeing coming down from Canada with the wildfires, right? What better time to talk about greenhouse? So again, these are issues that we're covering and that are top of mind. And then we always think about these bills that must pass legislation. So the National Defense Authorization Act and the Omnibus Act. And the reason these are concerns is, as most of you know, a lot of times there's a lot of scrambling last minute to get these things passed and to get things slid in, right? And these are comprehensive bills where there's a lot of danger for things that would negatively impact credit unions happening there. So we're, of course, top of mind for us is making sure that our lawmakers here in Michigan and around the country with CUNA are fully apprised of things that we're concerned about and we're watching for. So talking about these big issues, you know, we talked about the interest rates, we talk about the personal savings rates being at an all-time low for the last 20 years, the rising delinquency a bit, the junk fee rhetoric that we talk about when it comes to our overdraft protection programs. I know so many of you are looking at that and reversing a lot of those charges if they catch your member off guard and things like that. We talk about a recession. Is it going to happen? What's that going to look like? How is that going to change things from where we're at currently? And then we talk about the bank failures, right? A lot of discussion on big banks just got bigger, because where did a lot of those deposits go? You read in the news, right, how Chase and Bank of America was modifying and updating their processes to get people onboarded even faster, so they continue to get bigger and bigger. So it's certainly things that we're watching, and we're trying to help you. How do we prepare? How do we respond for the fact that our market share might get even smaller than around the 7% that it hovers at? I know that's what's on your mind, right? How are we going to navigate this as the big banks just got bigger? I know you navigated through those bank failures fine. We were good, right? I have very little activity happening in the credit union space as a result of that. But I know what you're thinking about is how can we move forward? And that is the fintech discussion. You can't go to a conference or an event or an expo hall without our fintechs being there. Some of them are taking your members, but a lot of them are there to support and collaborate with us. Let's talk about fintechs by themselves, right? How are they perceived in the industry? So if we look at this, trust and financial service companies. So you can see these respondents and how they feel about financial service companies when it comes to trust. So you can see there the blue and the yellow at the top, that's credit unions and banks, right? We're at the top of the heap, which is awesome when it comes to trust. Our members trust us. But you look at the bottom blue, that's the level of trust for fintechs when you're working with them alone. So fintech is by far the least trusted in the financial service companies, at least as far as the survey. When fintechs have changed, they've changed how financial services work, but sometimes there's still a lot of leeriness about working with them and connecting with them. So how can we leverage that, right? What can we do? We have to do something. Because even though that trust level is low, they're not going away, right? You look at fintech revenue, it's on the rise, and it's expected to grow even more in the coming years. So we have to think about how we can connect with this movement and how we can incorporate fintech into our space. And I hear about this, you know, we all hear about it when we go to conferences. Everybody's talking about AI, everyone's getting a chat bot, everyone's thinking about other ways that we can connect with financial services to make it us competitive with some of these companies. How can we leverage that trust and awareness? That's something that's top of mind for us at the League. So if you think about the fact that credit unions have a 65% trust rate from consumers compared to fintechs at 36%, fintechs can't buy the trust, but we can leverage the trust we have and meld in this technology to get more members, to serve our current members, and keep our members. So as we're riding these waves with you, like I talked about at the beginning, what can we do as an association to help you, right? We're not a fintech, but we have a really good CUSO, CUSG, CU Solutions Group. They're out there pounding the pavement, keeping an eye on the latest and greatest in technology. So we're proud of that company doing their thing, offering products and services that can really make a difference. And as the association, we talk about our independent awareness campaign. So some of you remember we had a campaign for a long time called CU Link, and that's how we talked about credit union awareness in our space. And that was a very successful program. But then on the billboards or on the ads, you would see CU Link, and I'm like, I'm not sure people know what that is. So we really talked about this over the last year, and what should we call our awareness campaign to help you get more members? How about just try a credit union? What do we want people to do as a part of our awareness campaign? We want them to try a credit union. So the campaign has evolved from CU Link to try a credit union, and it's our way to help get members to you. Because when you talk about the 60%, we're all excited and we clap that 60% of Michiganders are credit union members. Are we going to keep that 60% as your members get older and older? When your average member age is in their 40s or 50s? Are we going to be struggling to keep that 60%? Is it going to fall below if we don't do something to get new members? And this is, again, what we hear from you. We need young members. We need to get these folks in the door. So you're all doing your own campaigns to appeal to young people, and we're helping you out with this awareness campaign. And look at the digital impressions. Look at the activity that we're seeing for this campaign. We're really excited to report this out to you. The 55 million hits on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat just alone. The website traffic that we're getting to that Try a Credit Union website where they can search for you and they can also search for your jobs because we post all of your careers on that page as well. So when you see over 100,000 visitors coming to the Try a Credit Union website, they're finding out about you. They're seeing current news because that's on that page. They're hearing about the things that you're doing in your community because we know young people, that's what they care about. They want to partner with somebody that's active and supportive of their community, and they're finding all this information on this website. So we're really excited. Hopefully you've seen some of the flags out and about and some of the other things that we have in the convention. We have a spokesperson, that's Alicia there. So really excited to have you, and a big thank you. You all participate in this campaign. We spend a lot of money in media buys thanks to all of your involvement and engagement. And I'm really excited because we have 2 new spots to show you that have not been placed yet. Keep in mind, right? Keep in mind, these spots are designed to appeal to young people. So if you're sitting there going, I don't get it, that's dumb. I don't get it. You don't have to get it. I was not seeing these on my social feed, and I was telling Rick Weaver, I'm like, are these out there? Did we actually buy this media? They're not showing up in my stuff. And he's like, Patty, you're 51. These are coming to young people. It's strategically placed, not with you. So anyway, so I just keep that in mind as you're watching these, but I'm going to cue them both up. So what do some of the visuals look like? Look at how fun this is when you see it on your phone. Broken car and no cash, right? A credit union consumer loan can help. They click on Find a Credit Union and they find you. So that's a digital banner. Let's see here. I'm advancing. No advancing's happening. So I think the next, I'm going to cue up the first video before they show it. It's called Adventure Jar. This is a thing I did not know about, but apparently it's on TikTok, where kids are saving money literally in a piggy bank that they call Adventure Jar. Not if you know what I'm talking about. I know some people have seen this on TikTok. Heather did. So her kids must have shown her. So we wanted to produce a spot to encourage savings, right? Because that's what a lot of us care about right now. So the first one is called Adventure Jar. It's very quick because no one pays attention for anything that's longer than like 10 seconds. So that's why it's fast. But we'll go ahead and cue up this first one.
Now I can see my savings. Brilliant.
Interesting use of the word brilliant. Don't save change. Change the way you save. Credit unions give you interest and keep your money safe. Credit unions, for real, for your future.
Okay, what do you guys think? Cute? You like it? All right. So the next one is, we try and balance having a branch, right? And we know credit unions continue to open branches and buy deserted bank branches and all of that great stuff. Sometimes our branches aren't as big, they're smaller, but you're still putting them out there. How do we balance having a brick and mortar with wanting people to use our technology? Like reconciling those two. So this next spot is about an older member, and you hear from her granddaughter about trying to embrace technology, but she still likes to go into her branch. So let's play the next one.
Why are we in here? Can't you do all this in their app?
Well, I could, but I love spilling the tea with Andre.
What Grandma said. Credit unions, for real, for your future.
What do you guys think? You like it? Good? All right, good. So really excited to show those to you. Those will be launched pretty soon, and we have some more ideas in the pipeline. But thank you so much for committing to the campaign. We really appreciate it. So I didn't want to leave my time without thanking our vendor partners. This is a list of all the people. So we sold out the convention hall. The vendor hall is sold to the max. So they're an important part of this event. They're not only putting on all of the parties and taking you out to dinner and having some good time with you. It's really important that you stop by and see them at their booths. Without their support, this would not be the event that it is now. So a big shout out to those, and they're near and dear to my heart because I was on this list for 19 years. So I'm especially supportive of all of our amazing vendor partners. And then here's a list of our sponsors. So thank you so much to them. We appreciate you. Also, I wanted to point out a few. We got really engaged in supporting some community partners this year, so we offered complimentary booth space to 3 different organizations. So the Rainbow Connection is kind of like Make-A-Wish, but it's for Michigan families only, so please stop by and check out that booth. We have the African American Credit Union Coalition here. That's an association that you can join. Please do so. Stop by their booth. It's well worth it. They have their own conference. They have a lot of great things happening. Renee Sadie-White is like my hero, so please stop by and check out their booth. And then we have CU Pride. In the month of Pride, I'm happy to talk about CU Pride, which is its own official association now, so you can actually join. So please stop by their booth and give them some love and support. So that's going to end my remarks. So I just want to thank you so much for listening.